Brr, it's cold outside in Chicago.
Welcome to our winter break mini episode series.
We're hibernating so we can come back fresh and freaky just in time for Valentine's Day.
During our break, we don't want to leave you hanging, so each week in January and the first week of February, we'll be releasing 10-minute tip episodes from your favorite unfiltered Dr. Besties.
Don't worry, we'll be back with our full-length content for a spicy episode returning for you all on February 12th, so make sure you're on the lookout for that.
Enjoy, Pelvic Freaks!
You're listening to The Pelvic Freak Show
with your hosts, Amanda Neary and Hannah Meyer. Hey, Pelvic Freaks! Welcome to the last mini-sode of our winter break series.
Where you're freaks for us and we're freaks for your pelvis, baby, because we miss you so much.
We miss you so much. We can't wait to be back on camera for our first full-length episode coming next week, just in time for Valentine's Day.
Next Thursday, we release new episodes every Thursday.
Yeah.
If you are listening to us and you've enjoyed our mini-sode series, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating or a review. Make sure you give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Absolutely. It helps so much with reaching new audience members and new pelvic freaks. We love y'all. Please help us out.
Just to rehash and to recap, if you haven't tuned into our mini-sode series, Amanda and I have been taking a quick winter break to reset to be rejuvenated for our 2026 series of the Pelvic Freak Show. So at the beginning of the year, we started off with episode 1 of our mini-series, which was top 5 peeing mistakes you're doing every day. Mm-hmm. Episode 2 was top 5 ways to relax your pelvic floor. Episode 3 was how to have better orgasms. Number 4 was last week's episode, which was how to poop like a queen, quick tip edition. Mm-hmm. And this week we are ending our mini-sode series with our 5 quick tips for pelvic pain relief.
Yes, pelvic pain is something a lot of our patients experience, and we know it brought some of you to the pod in the first place. So we want to give it its time to... Why am I doing that a lot? So I want to give you some quick tips to help relieve your pelvic pain. That does not mean they work quickly all the time. Sometimes they do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's something that easy that you could throw into your routine that you're missing. Pelvic pain is one of my favorite things to treat as a pelvic floor physical therapist because I just know that there's so many people dealing with pelvic pain that do not talk about it. You're probably listening to this episode right now and you probably don't talk about it a lot, but so many people have these same issues and we're here to help you through it by starting off with these 5 quick tips. And if you're dipping your toe into the pelvic floor world, maybe this will help you out before making an appointment with a pelvic floor provider in your area.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and talk about our first quick tip for pelvic pain relief.
You might hear us say this as down training. And what that really means is like relaxing the pelvic floor, right? So if you didn't listen to our mini episode on relaxing your pelvic floor, exactly what I just said. Go listen to that one because when I say down training as tip number 1, I am referring to everything we talked about in that episode. That's your breathing, that's your stretching positions, your mindfulness routine, different ways that you relax your tight pelvic floor because yes, your pelvic floor is probably tight if you have pelvic pain.
Dare I say the 5 tips to relax your pelvic floor episode is one of our most important episodes you need to listen to.
Absolutely.
Because it's something not necessarily easy for people to do, but something people are easily missing.
Think about all of our mini-sodes. We have orgasms, pooping, peeing, pain. Relaxing your pelvic floor can help with every single one of those.
Dream blunt rotation right there.
Guys, do your down training. Go listen to that episode. Learn how to relax your pelvic floor.
Our next quick tip for pelvic pain relief is manual therapy. So if you're going to see a pelvic floor physical therapist, receiving internal treatment, at least bare minimum an internal assessment of your pelvic floor from someone who knows what it feels like for a pelvic floor to be tight, that can teach you ways in order to relax your pelvic floor at home, can teach you how to use, spoiler alert, pelvic wand dilator tools at home, things like that, is going to be really beneficial. And also continually getting internal treatment to relax your pelvic floor muscles. I always say the big 3 for relaxing the pelvic floor, because the pelvic floor muscles are different muscles than like your hamstring. So the 3 ways we can relax is 1, breathing, because these are internal muscles. So we can use pressure changes to help mobilize that muscle and relax the muscle. We can use a finger or a pelvic wand or a dilator to go in and manually stretch the muscle. And then we can use generic stretches like hamstring stretch, happy baby, child's pose, exercises that are relaxing and stretching the accessory muscles to help influence the pelvic floor muscles to relax. So the manual therapy component is honestly really, really important. It's something that a lot of people shy away of because we're like, no, don't go in there. It's really, at the end of the day, if you're in pelvic pain, a lot of the time it is just muscles. It's just muscles, but they're inside your body, so it freaks you out. But it's just muscles at the end of the day.
Beautifully said. If you have access to it, I promise it will be worth trying out.
If the internal work sounds scary to you, also having some abdominal myofascial release, abdominal work, stretching the abdomen, getting a massage, getting some soft tissue work done if your glutes feel really tight, if your lower body's really tight, if your abdomen, if your low back is tight, a massage is great. These are all manual therapy techniques that can help to relax your pelvic floor. But the internal work is truly that component that really helps the most too.
Absolutely.
What's another quick tip for pelvic pain relief?
Next one is going to be exercise. And this can be in so many different capacities. So if you have a pelvic floor therapist, they will probably give you exercises tailored to specifically what's going on with you, which is going to be super targeted and great. But generally speaking, moving your body, strengthening your body, this isn't saying to do specific pelvic floor exercises either. This could be weightlifting, this can be running, this can be anything. Building strength and tone in your muscles is going to help your body carry yourself better, balance and stabilize things that your pelvic floor will overcompensate for if they are weaker. So getting strong is really important for offloading your pelvic floor so that it's not constantly building tension, which can lead to pain. So exercise and specifically strengthening.
Such a good point, because a lot of people with pelvic pain stray away from exercise because they're afraid it's going to make their pain worse. That's one of the number one questions I get. My tip for a lot of those people that are afraid to get into exercise is to start with low impact, lighter resistance exercise, maybe like Pilates, where you're doing a lot of high reps, where you're still getting that muscle fatigue and that muscle hypertrophy, but it's not, but you're not going and deadlifting a ton of weight right off the bat. You might want to incorporate that later on into your routine and work your way up. But if you have pelvic pain, that doesn't mean that you can never lift a barbell again.
Absolutely.
The absolute opposite.
Yeah. Like if my SI joint pain flares up, that's technically pelvic pain that's in that region. I don't do all my normal stuff, but I will still move because I know not moving is going to make it worse. I have to find different ways to move and do rehab exercises. So that's where, if you have a pelvic floor PT in your pocket, that's going to be your best bet for tailoring those movements. But if you are moving, if you're a great movement person on your own, you can just modify if there is a flare up or something going on.
Yeah. And I like what you said about your pelvic floor is overcompensating. Let's say you're a pole dancer and pole dancing is your main form of exercise, but you have pelvic pain. You don't necessarily need to stop pole dancing, but almost incorporating other forms of movement into your routine to create more balance. Maybe a yoga, a Pilates, things like that to supplement your workout routine and see how that helps rather than cutting things out cold turkey.
Totally.
So pelvic pain doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop everything.
But speaking of cutting things out cold turkey, I'm skipping to not doing Kegels because we just talked about exercise and strengthening. Our next tip is that is not Kegels, especially if you have pelvic pain. Almost maybe 95% of the time, I'm telling people with pelvic pain to actually avoid doing Kegels because that is an exercise that can create more pelvic floor tension. It will help you. It will do the opposite of down training, right? So you're creating more tension from a tightened place probably. So you're not actually effectively strengthening that muscle. And there are better ways to strengthen the pelvic floor in general.
Yeah. Pelvic pain can be so many things. Like Amanda said, SI joint pain, Vaginismus, though. Vaginismus is a big one. Vulvodynia, dyspareunia, which is pain with penetrative intercourse. These are all pelvic pain terms. You might hear the term pelvic girdle pain. That's pelvic pain. Even left hip pain, right hip pain, pubic symphysis pain, which is the front part of your pelvis. What else? Piriformis syndrome.
Pretty good.
Any of these diagnoses you've been shot at by your doctor, these all fall in the category of pelvic pain. And these tips that we're giving you can help. And we don't want you doing Kegels if you have any of these symptoms.
Do not do Kegels.
Yeah. Unless a pelvic floor PT tells you otherwise and you have a specific evaluation and in your care it matters, for right now, I want you to focus on relaxing your pelvic floor.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Last one is using some kind of self-release tool. So this is usually coming after treatment from a pelvic floor therapist, but sometimes we'll recommend tools that you can use at home. This can be dilators, pelvic wands, depending on your case and what is being treated. But there's also tools sold, there's the Kiwi sold by pelvic people. So with pain with penetrative sex, you can try that. It's a vibrating self-release tool for entry-level pain. And they also have the ONA, which helps reduce depth of penetration. So there are things you can kind of research and buy on your own. If you're confused by any of these tools that are options for you, definitely asking your pelvic floor PT first is the move. But there are self-release tools, and they're really good for long-term use too after treatment.
Yeah, if you're confused whether to use a pelvic wand, a dilator, definitely get an assessment from your pelvic floor PT and they will direct you the way. Pelvic wands and dilators, things like that can also be really intimidating, especially if you have pelvic pain or pelvic floor dysfunction. So plenty of resources online, I would say, in order to teach you how to use it, but it's specifically that one-on-one care is going to be really helpful. At the end of the day, just remember, they're just muscles. We're just stretching muscles. So people are really worried oh, I'm going to hurt something. I'm going to do something wrong. Learn how to use it. And then don't be afraid to you're not going to hurt anything is what I want to say.
Yeah.
I usually say as a rule of thumb, don't go more than 2 points up on the pain scale if you're stretching your pelvic floor with a pelvic wand or dilator. Usually that can be a safer, manageable number to help you out. But all in all, you're not going to hurt anything.
All right, guys, pelvic pain, it's not one size fits all. These are good tips and we will give them to most patients we see. Obviously, if you need an individualized approach, see your pelvic floor PT, ask them what they think. But these are pretty, like Hannah said, you're not going to hurt yourself with these tips. These are generalized and pretty much good for anyone with pelvic pain. So we are so happy you tuned into this episode, which is the last one of our mini series.
Tune in for next week. We will be back with our video podcast, full-length content. So end of our mini episodes. We have longer episodes. You probably missed our banter a little bit.
Yeah,
over
we're
this
gonna
past month.
We're gonna be yipping and yapping, and I'm gonna be talking about a really cool trip I went on, and
I'm gonna talk about how I'm such a good snowboarder now.
Yeah, you're gonna be really good at snowboarding by then.
So good.
All right, guys, we are excited to be back in action for season 2 in 2026.
And remember, don't do those Kegels.
Don't do those Kegels. Bye, pelvic freaks.
Bye, pelvic freaks.